All right. Do you read me, Hal? Is that the original picture for Hal back in
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
so it looked like. Interesting. Hal 9000.
Yeah. So I saw that he basically said that the deal is done and they're going to sign it in Europe this weekend.
When did you see that?
Here, let me see where I saw that right now. So he had a press conference and
They're going to sign it at Nuremberg or something.
let me see where he said it.
I guess they need some fireworks, so they had fireworks for the past couple days.
Yeah, it just says Iran. Trump again claims Iran deal is close after retracting threat of strikes. Then he had if you go, I think he had a press conference from the Oval Office, and I think in that he said, here, let me go to Twitter or X. 1 second. Okay, yeah, this is what he said. A big day. I know you'll never be satisfied, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me at all. We just made a great settlement of the war with Iran, and we're going to be subject to finalization of documents. We should get done over the next few days, probably have a signing maybe in Europe, and it's a great thing. Stock market's up 1,000 points. That means they like the deal! Exclamation point. Oil's dropped. It will start coming down even lower than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my only problem with his statements is Europe is not where their Lord was crucified.
Oh, say that again.
Europe is not where their Lord was crucified.
Oh, yeah.
And in Revelation 11, the two witnesses, that's where they are killed. They're killed where the Lord was crucified, which would be Disneyland, Jerusalem.
Mm.
Yeah, so interesting. So obviously today being 322 on Pharaoh's calendar, which is why we were anticipating. Obviously we were thinking it might be 322 on O's calendar, and then obviously tomorrow you have Disclosure Day, the SpaceX IPO, which is said to be the largest IPO in stock market history. And then yeah, a lot of big demand for it. Big demand. And SpaceX sets IPO price at $135 per share.
135.
Yeah, so there's a big demand for the shares.
Equals 9 and 35.
Yeah, so interesting times, that's for sure. And then you obviously have this Carmelo Anthony story. I don't know if you probably didn't hear about it, brother, where an Israelite was accused of murder because he got into like a confrontation with some white kids at high school track meet or something. I don't know. I didn't actually read the story, but he was charged and he got convicted and got 35 years. And so everyone's up in arms. Um, I saw Captain Trackstar actually had a post where he said it's time to accept that God is racist.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. It's not time to accept that we have rebelled and gone away from the ways of the Most High, and that's why we continue to be a prey in the world. No. It's time to accept God is racist.
Oh, racist.
Yeah, which means it's time to accept that what is it? Deuteronomy, is it 17:10? Let me check. No, maybe it's 10:17. Yes. Deuteronomy 10:17. For your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, the great, mighty, and awesome God, showing no partiality. And when Captain Trackstar pretends he's the captain of thousands of Israelites, I would just like to go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 3, just to read what would be taken away from Israel in the exile.
Tell me, go ahead. Let's go to Isaiah.
Isaiah chapter 3, verse 1. For behold, the Lord of hosts does take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. Verse 2. The mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet and the prudent and the ancient. And here's the kicker, verse 3. The captain of 50. They don't have captains of 50 in the exile.
Mm.
And the honorable man, and the counselor, and the cunning artificer, and the eloquent orator. Verse 4, and I will give children to be their princes, and babes to rule over them.
That's appropriate right there. Who's the Captain Trackstar?
Captain Tazariak, that ISP. Do you remember I went on the show and he threw me off?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. He's the
I
one
call
that's...
him Captain Trackstar because he's fast,
Oh, he's fast. Fast at what?
Fast at running away from people who will, call him out on his bullshit doctrines. He only debates the short bus crowd.
Short bus crowd. I thought you're saying fast. Fast as in...
like he runs away. Yeah, he runs away fast. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
He wants nothing. He wants nothing with real smoke. He only wants to entertainment purposes only.
Entertainment only.
It's like WWF. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like somebody going to go hunting and they tie the little cub to a tree and kill it. Something easy. Their prey. Captain Trackstar. You're telling me he said it was racist?
Story that everyone's up in arms about it. Again, no one taking responsibility. Everyone pointing the finger at Esau and Edom.
Because the Israelite got 35 years?
Yeah, exactly. It was all white jury. Same story. Always, it's the same story they tell you repeatedly.
It was
The True-House, Trayvon Martin. I mean, there's so many examples of the same story.
I think that's I saw something of a clip or something where the guy says, I'm not against them, but we need to really give them the maximum to send a message here. What actually happened? I mean, I don't know anything about the story.
That's a good question. Let's look it up. What was his name? Carmelo Anthony. All right, let's see. Oh no, oops. I think it was something like it was. Okay, here we go. So this is what the story says. A Texas teenager accused of fatally stabbing one of his peers at a high school athletics event in the Dallas area was found guilty by a jury on Tuesday. The racially polarizing trial of Carmelo Anthony over the April 2025 death of Austin Metcalf drew national attention, sparking a debate about self-defense and school safety. Both were 17 at the time of the incident. Prosecutors argue that Anthony threatened Metcalf before he intentionally killed him, while defense argued that Anthony was acting in self-defense. Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison. The young men were at a secondary school track meet when the incident happened. Metcalf's death was the result of a dispute that escalated between the two rival secondary schools.
Sounds like drama.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been all over the news too, and everyone's attention's, been focused on that as well. And just a whole lot of nonsense coming out about it, as usual. But,
Is that where
peace
you?
is here.
What's that?
I said, it seems like peace is here,
Yeah, peace is here.
which tells us we know what's going to follow.
Hip hip hooray. Similar to World War II with what's his name, the foreign minister of England coming back, signed peace treaty with him.
Churchill?
No.
What was his name?
I had to look it up. It's famous, lands at the airport and he opens the plane door and sticks the paper up in the air. And he gets a hip hip hooray 3 times. And then I think in 9 months or something, Hitler invaded Poland.
Yeah, Neville Chamberlain.
Neville Chamberlain, yeah.
There you go.
Now, what day was that on? Curious.
That was on September 30th. Well, he signed the agreement on September 30th. And famously returning to London to declare it represented peace for our time.
Peace for our time.
It's funny.
Mm-hmm. And everything was, back to normal, and stocks went up, and Did you say that was 1935?
1930.
1930.
No, 1938.
19. All right, so it was a year later. He invaded Poland.
Hey, Brother Julian's here.
Brother Julian. I didn't see it. Oh, there he is. Brother Julian, how are you? He's down at the bottom. Can you pull him up?
Shalom. Sorry I haven't been here in a while.
Brother Julian.
Hey, shalom, brother. No worries.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys were on last week.
We were not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you're doing well.
Oh yeah, we were asking about you before. We're talking about you and said hope everything's okay. And yeah, glad that you everything's good. I wanted to see what date as they invaded Poland. Invasion of Poland. Invasion of Poland was September 1st, 1939. September 1st, 1939. So they signed the peace treaty in September 30th, 1938. So basically 11 months later.
All right, look at this, brother. Look at this story, okay? This is from today. U.S. authorities investigate huge etching of 8647 on the National Mall grounds. U.S. federal authorities are investigating what appears to be a massive etching of 8647 into the grass of the National Monument. Live webcam footage from the top of the Washington Monument as of Thursday afternoon shows the markings with a highly visible 8 alongside a less visible 6, 4, and 7. 86 is frequently used across the restaurant industry to mean stop or get rid of something, while Donald Trump is the 47th president of the U.S.
8647. 86 in the restaurant. Oh, 86. Okay. 86 that I remember usually stood for eliminate something. 86 it, get rid of it. You hold on a second.
Yeah, so anyways, as I'm saying, that's a quite interesting article. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. 86 means it is said the
Somebody posted that once and they got in big trouble. I think it was James Comey, if I'm remembering correctly. Watch, let me find this story. James Comey, 8647.
Who's James Comey?
The former FBI director. Yeah, see, look, AI overview. The numbers 8647 refer to a controversial social media post by former FBI Director James Comey. James Comey posted an Instagram photo of seashells spelling 8647 on a beach. The number 86 is slang for get rid of something, and 47 refers to President Donald Trump, the 47th president. Donald Trump allies interpreted the post as a death threat. Comey was investigated by the Secret Service and subsequently indicted by the Department of Justice on charges of threatening the life of the president. He was really what? He got indicted for that? I don't remember that. Oh, yeah, he was indicted. Tuesday, recently, April? That's funny. April 28th. I didn't even know that.
Did they show a picture of the
Seashell thing?
No, the obelisk.
No, they don't show it in the article. The article is looking down on the grass. It looks like from maybe from because you don't see the water either. You see the lawn. So I'm not quite sure. I've only been there once and I don't really pay attention.
Is it inside the flags or outside?
It's outside the flags. The flags are at the the base.
At the base.
Let's see a map. Let's see what it looks like because I'm not really familiar with it. If I'm being honest. So what is it? National Mall. Map of National Mall and Washington Monument. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Oh no, I think it's the right in front of it, right in front of the circle.
Does Freemasonry have anything to do with the Bible?
Oh,
Like, do you think that's who's writing it? I guess.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, they built it.
no, and the builders.
Yeah, and the Quran, both of them, and Leviticus.
But like,
And
why did they
Leviticus.
give one book more truth than the other? I guess you could say.
When you see, but when you say that though, so it's really interesting. So something I didn't realize. So in Freemasonry, they say that your ascension is the evolution from the New Testament to the Quran. Like the spiritual growth of the Mason is moved. Like if you look at the Shriners, all of the Shriners stuff is based off of Islam, and you can't become a Shriner unless you're a 32nd degree Mason.
What's a
And so
Shriner?
a Shriner is, you've seen them with the funny hats. If you ever seen that movie about McDonald's, I think he raises money for them in the movie.
They have
Because all fast food is Masonic, by the way.
They have a red it's called a red Faz hat. It looks like a little 1-gallon bucket, and it's upside down. It's painted red, and it's almost got like a graduation type of tassel hanging down the side. You know, when the kids graduate high school, they wear that hat with the gold tassel on top hanging down. That's a Masonic tassel in high school, when they graduate.
You mean with the square on the top of the head?
Yeah.
Is it like a top hat?
Yeah, but the high school is a bucket with a square on top with the tassel. The ones that the Masons wear is the red fuzz hat. It stands for when the Muslims killed all the Christians. There was a battle like in the 1500s or something like that, where the Muslims killed 100,000 Christians or whatever, and they took their hat, dipped them in the blood, and wore them. And that's where the hat of the who are they, Brother Mayron? What are they called?
Shriners.
Shriners?
Yes.
So why would they make books that like speak about, I guess, peace? Like, why would they write books that speak about peace, that give us the answers to like the beginning of the world, but like go on the other hand and be like, no, we're about chaos and death and murder and all this.
Well, so you gotta think that, like, I mean, nobody's really aware of that, right?
But they are,
I mean, but how many of them, right? And then also when you say, I think you got to understand, like, the whole goal seems to be the disillusionment of people who profess a belief in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
What do you mean
Like
disillusion?
So if you read Albert Pike's here, let me pull it up. So this is the words of Albert Pike, 33rd degree Freemason. He's the writer of Morals and Dogma.
You want to post his last letter?
I can't really post it because it's a picture, but I'll read it. You can find it online though too. So this is what his prediction is for the final World War, and apparently he predicts the first two as well and gets them accurate.
Yeah,
But
he
this is what
predicted COVID and all that.
I don't know about that. I didn't know that. But so this is what he says about the Third World War, though. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the age and tour of the Illuminati between political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to all nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origins of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the people will be forced to defend themselves against the world minority of the world revolutionaries and will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitudes disillusioned with Christianity, whose spirits will be from that moment without direction and leadership and anxious for an ideal but without knowing where to send its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into public view. A manifestation which will result from a general reactionary
Which
movement which
is
will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both
what
conquered and
is the
exterminated at the same time.
what is the doctrine of Lucifer?
So,
That's a good question, man. I mean,
so
Like
is it about?
to me it's like the New Testament, the Quran, all that.
I think it's before. I think it's even. I think it's just.
But
I think you look at the Tower of Babel. I think you
he
look
might
at
be talking about Masons,
the
because
tree, right? You look at the.
in the Tower of Babel, like why would they do this to themselves? They're like putting themselves out there on the front line, like basically slandering their own name. Because in the beginning, like sorry, in Genesis 11, it's talking about Masons, right?
Well, so I would say it's talking about the start of the same rebellion that continues today, right? That obviously Masons are at the forefront of, right? And
Yeah,
builders. I think you see that symbolism. They use bricks to build Babel, right?
yeah,
Uh, they put tools on Solomon's temple and on Solomon's altar, right? And you can see it with their brick and their all of the symbolism in their degrees, right? But it's really interesting because I didn't realize this until recently. The square and the compass represent Christianity and Islam. The square is the New Testament. The compass is the Quran. And there's a saying to square the circle. Okay. And if you read, so this is the uh, to square the circle. Why? Look at what the AI says. Square the circle is an idiom that means attempting to do something that is extremely difficult or fundamentally impossible.
hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Now again, I think it's the Most High doing, right? How can Israel be scattered and worship gods that their fathers didn't know unless those gods are created,
Well,
right?
exactly. Like in the book, it literally like there's an answer for that. Like he says that if you don't follow me, like if you turn, I think that's in Deuteronomy 11. It says that he's gonna make you serve these gods.
Yeah, but I'm
Let me
saying that
see.
those gods had to be created, right? And obviously
Yeah,
he had to use people to do it. And
take
obviously they're very happy to do so,
take.
you know.
This is Deuteronomy 11:16. Take heed to yourselves that your hearts be not deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, and there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, and lest ye perish quickly from off the good land which the Lord giveth you. Like that's literally like I don't know. I feel like if Masons wrote this book, right? I feel like that's like such
Okay,
a.
so hold on. I never said the Masons wrote the Torah. That's not what I
Oh,
said.
but
No,
you
no, no,
think
no,
they've
no.
like put their hands on it, right?
Oh, so I think the book of Leviticus, right? I think the book of Leviticus is the beginning of the rebellion being being formalized in the text, in the word of God,
So do you
making
think
God a pagan God that requires blood sacrifice. That sets up both future deceptions. If you look at Christianity with the ultimate sacrifice in the form of JC, that doctrine doesn't make sense unless God requires blood, right? And
hasn't
then
he
look at,
always wanted like animals though?
it doesn't say that anywhere.
Like, don't you think that like when Cain and Abel, like when Abel
We don't know. We
brought
all it says
goats,
is that God preferred
life, right?
Cain's preferred Abel's over Cain's. It doesn't tell us why.
But what
One could
about when?
assume that it's about holding back, that Cain didn't bring his best. That would be my
Uh-huh.
assumption there, right?
What
But
about
if you
when Abraham and Isaac went on the hill, and then he's like, "No, Isaac, God like has a sacrifice," and then
okay,
it was supposed to be him, but it wasn't. Then they found that goat
okay, so great question. And so
or
this is what
ram
I would
caught in the thicket.
and so this is what I would say. So I would say we need to reconcile something, because you would agree that the story of Abraham sacrificing Isaac would be child sacrifice entering the heart of God.
Would I agree?
Yeah.
No.
What do you mean? If God tells Abraham, take your son and go offer him to me as a burnt offering, how can we
Nope.
say that that's not God? The thought of child sacrifice entering the heart of God. How can we say that?
Because I'd
What
bring
is
up the
that
point
then?
that you brought up. Like, is God a liar? Is God a man that he should lie? In Jeremiah, when he's like, "It never came into my mind," I'd believe that, you know.
Okay, but hold on, you can't believe it blindly, because that's a
But I'm not.
glaring
This is the word.
contradiction. Because if Jeremiah 7:31 says that idea wouldn't enter God's heart,
Yeah.
something's wrong then if we are told a story where God is the one who comes up with the idea for Abraham to offer Isaac as a burnt offering.
Wrong where?
Now,
In the Torah or in Jeremiah?
it would be wrong in Genesis.
Oh, okay.
The story in Genesis seems to contradict Jeremiah 7:31, just like Leviticus contradicts Jeremiah 7:22, and the Passover sacrifice contradicts Jeremiah 7:22, right? And so to me, we have to reconcile. To me, that's a burning bush. There's something that God has left here, a contradiction that we need to figure out how we can reconcile all of this. That God didn't ask Moses and Aaron to do sacrifices when they came out of Egypt, right? He didn't teach them about burnt offerings. He says that child sacrifice is an abomination, the thought of which would never enter into his heart. But he told Abraham to do this. And if we go to the book of Jasher, though, the book of Jasher gives us the answer. In the book of Jasher, it's Isaac's idea, because Ishmael is boasting. And first of all, how old was Isaac, brother? Let me
16.
find that. No, he's like 40, 37, 40. See, that's the thing. Genesis tries to present Isaac as a young child who was unaware of what Abraham was doing. Think about that verse
But
that you
wait,
bring up.
so
He
so
says,
do you think?
Father, we have wood, we have fire, but where is the lamb? That implies that Isaac is unaware of why they are going to Mount Moriah, correct? That's the story of Genesis.
Yeah.
Okay. Jasher tells a very different story. In Jasher, it's Isaac's idea, and Isaac is aware of why they are going. And so notice that would seem to indicate that narrative of presenting Isaac as a young, unaware child who then
Makes it.
asks, "Where's the lamb?" is inserted to set up the story of JC in the future, the lamb that God provides, right?
Mm, I don't know, because it could just be written first and they just get inspired. Like, there's a few aspects of that.
But again, I mean, we got to
For
focus on,
example,
does God require blood?
yeah, but for
Does
example,
God require blood sacrifice?
Psalms 2:7, it says that, like, thou art my son, that I've my only begotten son or something, and that's where they get John 3:16. So I don't think it's to set it up. I think it's just something that's been here, and they've known it's been here, and they're just like, you know what, let's create something far in the future, the New Testament, and I don't know. I think that this is how
There's
it's
so
supposed to be
many
written.
issues though. So here's another. So okay, so then how come when Moses is talking to Pharaoh,
Hmm.
well, actually when Aaron is talking to Pharaoh, and he
What's the
says,
verse?
uh, verse
Exodus 9:8.
wherever he says it's if we sacrifice, if we worship God the way we do it, it's an abomination to the Egyptians.
Wait,
Let me find it.
I think that's 7 maybe. Like, let us go
We gotta
sacrifice
go.
in
We
the
can't
land.
do it here. Here, I'll find it right now.
Oh, okay.
If we do it here, uh, let me find.
Serve me in the wilderness and behold your food. Not here. That's another.
Here.
Is it 6?
Here, it's gonna be.
So you don't think that they wrote the Bible how they did the Quran, like from start to finish?
So no, I think the New Testament, yes.
Yeah,
I
exactly. But like, I
think
mean the
I
the
think
actual Bible.
Leviticus. I think Leviticus, yes. I think they've corrupted the book of Ezra. Um, all that stuff about them coming back to the land and rebuilding the temple in Ezra, chapters 2 through I think 9. All of that's inserted.
But they kept truth in there.
Well, the truth was there. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
What they've done is their hands have, like, for example, like switching the roles of Moses and Aaron.
Can't find the verse that you're talking about.
Here, I'll find it right here. Dun, dun. 826.
8.
826.
And Moses said, "It is not meet so to 24." And the Lord did so. Hold on. So the flies get sent. And Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, "Go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land." And Moses said, "It is not meet to do so, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to the Lord our God. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptian before their eyes? And will they not stone us? We will go
Yeah.
3 days' journey in the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God, and he shall command us, as he shall command us."
Yeah, so other translations, it's really about, it says it would not be right to do that because the sacrifices we offer to our God would be detestable to the Egyptians, right? And so this is the thing that I would ask you. You would agree that Egyptians had blood sacrifice system, right?
Yeah,
And what did they sacrifice?
the same things that, like, the
Same
Hebrews
things.
would.
Okay, so here's my question then. So why would it be detestable if that's true? What you just said, if it's the exact same thing that they're doing,
Yeah.
why do we have these words here in Exodus 8:26 where
Mhm.
Aaron is saying we can't worship our God here because the way we worship our God is detestable to the Egyptians, and they will stone us. Doesn't that imply
Because
that it's different? It's a
yeah,
different form of worship.
yeah, I think one's holy and one's not. Like,
But from the outside, I'm saying from a third party perspective, though, if I'm doing a blood sacrifice of an animal, how
mhm.
do I know one's holy, one's unholy? It's the same thing.
I think it's you know the verse where it says like the first fruits of your like you should give to the Lord, like the first goats or whatever animals that you have, like you set apart. You know what verse I'm talking about?
I'm sorry. What was it?
The verse where it talks about like the first fruits you're to give to the Lord.
The first fruits of your increase. Yeah, yeah.
What is
I
it? Is
say,
it
and I have no issue with that. I have no issue with people bringing the first fruits and people having a huge feast for oh.
because like
I have no issue for that. I
it
have no
sounded like
issue with that.
it sounded like they were supposed to like they had like I guess rams and stuff in their captivity.
So I don't understand. So what you're saying is that you think the issue was the rams, that the Egyptians found the rams to be detestable. That's the distinction.
I think it has to do with the land, like
But
them
this is in
needing to go
Egypt.
out
No,
and
no. He says do it here. He
yeah,
says
but
Aaron is saying if the Egyptians see us, they will stone us.
if it was anything like the U.S. today, like obviously if we were to go out and pray to God, people would be like, "What the heck? Like this guy's crazy."
But
I'm
that's
sure it
because
had
it's different though. If it's the same, why would anybody say that?
if it had anything to do with this, of course, if we were to like look like we have authority as God's chosen, people would be like, "What the heck?" Like I'm also a child of God, I guess. I don't know.
Again, I'm just talking about that. This you're adding things that all this is Aaron saying that if we offer what we offer to God in the sight of the Egyptians, they will find it detestable and stone us.
Maybe because it's not their gods.
Well,
Like it's not their God, you know.
I mean,
Was it
you could read into this 20 different ways, but the simple thing, what it's stating is how we do a sacrifice and how they do a sacrifice are different.
Hmm.
And it's all is he's saying is if we do this and Egyptians see this over there, they're going to kill us. So if one is sacrificing grains and plants and one is sacrificing animals, that's a huge distinction. So we know that in the Torah it talks about bringing grain offerings,
bread offerings? Yeah.
grain, bread, and all that. That's a distinction between all the other gods that are saying, "Hey, I need you to bring your first male born to sacrifice them. I need to bring your old men or your old women. I need to, they're sacrificing human beings. So if you sacrificed an animal, or a human being versus you sacrifice the loaf of bread, they said, what are these people doing?
Hmm.
You can't appease your God with a loaf of bread. You can always appease your God with a human sacrifice. That's why I keep saying, if you look at sports or you look at wrestling or you look at what's going on, it keeps getting more and more violent. And I think what it is it's heading back to the Roman Colosseum, where they'll be sacrificing people that you'll go in and that's the only thing that's going to appease people now.
But also, Julian, think about the contradiction you have when the land is reestablished.
Yeah.
The lion and the lamb lie down next to each other.
Hmm.
Death is conquered. What
Where
is
is that?
what is the sacrificial system?
Where is that at?
The
That's
lion, the lamb and the lion, isn't it Isaiah? What is it? Isaiah 66.
No, no.
that's where they stole it.
Oh, and then death is conquered. But
They
I
hide.
guess
Is
in the
death not
land.
if we're resurrected to eternal life, is death not conquered? Is that not correct to say that? And if the lion if we have these verses about a lion and a lamb laying next to each other, doesn't that imply that the lion no longer eats lamb?
Yeah.
Okay, so lions are eating what? Vegetables and grains like they were from the beginning.
Mhm.
So we're back to Garden and Eden state.
It also makes a
Yeah.
statement that the
So
lion,
who's doing blood sacrifice of animals in that state?
nobody,
God,
Why would God do that? Why
cause
would if God says I require obedience, not sacrifice?
he's the one who can sacrifice like.
If God says I don't want blood, I don't want the blood of bullocks.
But you
Brother,
don't
what
think
verse
that
is
he
that,
could.
Brother James, that he says that?
You don't think that he could like kill
He can do
to make
whatever he
good.
wants, but I'm saying, is God a man that he should lie? Why? He says these things very clearly. What do I want these things for? What do I want this? Why do I want this fat of lambs and this blood? What do I need it for? Isn't he say, well, brother? What's that verse? I can't think of it. He said, and then
I
I
was
think about David 4, Psalms 40 verse 6. God is not a God that requires sacrifice; He requires obedience. When we return to the land and the law is written upon our hearts and minds, right? To Him you shall hearken, because if you don't, you're not going to make it. So we are
first,
going to all be obedient to eternity, as He promises. I was actually reading it in Jubilees chapter 1 today. Why does He need blood sacrifice at that point?
1 Samuel 15:22.
Can you read it?
I can go to it. Yeah. 1 Samuel. And Samuel said, "Has thou as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Ahau? Behold, to obey is better than to sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams." For rebellion, verse 23, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Ahau, he has also rejected thee from being king. And then again, you have Psalms 40, verse 6. Sacrifice and offering thou didst not desire, my ears hast opened. Burnt offering and sin offerings hast thou not required. So he's telling us here that he has not required burnt offerings of animals and sin offerings that Leviticus puts out for us.
Wait, is it 46? 40 verse 6?
Yeah, Isaiah 40, verse 6.
So what about the verse where it says that Israel will abide
Without a king,
without a sacrifice?
without a
Okay.
sacrifice. And well,
Well, again, I think you should just say offering. Like, I don't disagree that they're making offerings to Him.
mm,
So
I'm
could the
taking issue
offering
with
be
blood sacrifice.
an animal?
Sure, that they bring and have a huge feast
and
and
it could be a,
celebrate in the name of all. Oh, absolutely. But I'm saying they're not killing the animal from a blood sacrifice perspective. They're killing the animal to have a huge feast and celebrate and give praise and glory to the Most High God. Like, and I think that would be an abomination. Think about the Egyptians, right? If the Egyptian system is they take all of their or not all, but some of their livestock, right? And they have to kill it to their gods, and they just lose it, right? Versus the Israelites, they take their stuff and they go and they have a huge barbecue celebration as a family.
mm,
That would bother me.
Why are you eating the sacrifice?
Especially when everyone's slaves, as everyone is in Egypt at that time, right? Remember, the money failed. They sold their livestock, the cattle, the lands. This is the Egyptians doing this as well, right? And so that would make a lot of sense to me, right? That's different. Like wow, you get to like have a party in the name of your God and eat these things. We just have to kill it and get rid of it, right? That to me is a possible explanation for why they would find it to be detestable. It was, I think, it finished same score, 2-0. And so
So,
yeah, I
what about when he says in Isaiah, "He that killeth an ox as if he slew a man, he that sacrificeth a lamb as if he cut off a dog's neck. He that offereth an oblation as if he offered swine's blood. He that burneth incense as if he blessed an idol." Like, why would he have the need to say that if there
Well,
wasn't like once before already sacrifices?
I think this is a reference to the heathen, and this is what he's doing is he's saying, "Hey, don't you do what they do." And that was the whole problem about going into the land. You don't give them your daughters, don't take their sons to be your daughters' wives, don't have anything to do with them because you're going to fall. And this is where the Israelites, we ended up with an obelisk and an altar under every green tree. And Hezekiah didn't, he didn't never tore down these altars, but Josiah did. Josiah is the only one that cleaned up Israel. So, and also think about David with the showbread. David went in and ate the showbread. There's not an animal inside the tabernacle. There's no sacrifice of an animal inside the tabernacle, but there's a loaf of bread in there and there's grain offering in there.
What about when he sacrifices a bunch of animals?
Well, this is questionable because now we have David sacrificing animals, right? And then we have David in Psalm 40 verse 6 telling us that he doesn't require blood sacrifices. He doesn't require animals.
and that God has made him understand this. So it seems like obviously this corruption had entered into the nation of Israel a long, long time ago. The priests of Baal. That's why we call them the priests of Baal, because they corrupted it. This corruption has been there for a long time. Look at Psalms 40, verse 6. David, it was revealed to David that that's not what God wants.
Hey, does Stephanie wants to say something here?
I got on here in the middle of it, but what
Oh,
about
go
in
ahead, bro.
Genesis 8:20 when Noah makes the sacrifice?
After
Doesn't
the flood.
say doesn't say that he was told to, I guess, but he did it.
Yeah, it doesn't, and it's a very good question. Okay, so the question is this: is we have scripture that says he doesn't require blood sacrifices, and we have scripture where everybody's doing it. We have Solomon, the golden boy, is he's just doing it like there's no tomorrow. And this is what we were talking about. This is what we were talking about today. That I was listening to Job, and in Job verse 43, it says that tells Job to go make a sacrifice for his friends of 6 oxen, 2 oxen for each friend. And I find that Julian, you got back feed on your phone. Thank you. But it has Noah making sacrifices, has everybody making sacrifices. But remember, like Brother Mayron says, sacrifice. What happens if the word, forget about sacrifice? Because when we think of sacrifice, everybody thinks of a blood sacrifice or a human sacrifice. What happens if they just instilled the word and it just should say offering? You made an offering. Okay. You could make an offering of an animal, or you could make a grain offering. So this is one of those burning bushes we have telling us, I didn't require you to kill an animal. I don't want your blood sacrifice. I want you just to obey me. If you obey me, you're going to do far greater for me than you are sacrificing an animal. So, and we've talked about Noah before. Does it
And
tell us?
far greater for yourself, right? Because the whole idea is Torah is life. Which of you wants to live a long and beautiful life? Psalms 44, right? It's not about doing the wrong thing and then killing animals. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, we have a huge contradiction here on both sides. And, which one is it? Now, we do know that all the pagan gods, they're not running around saying grain offerings. They all require blood, and it's usually a child sacrifice. This is where the child sacrifice came in. And I was saying, no, don't do it. They're throwing the children into the fire of Molech. Can you call that a blood sacrifice? Absolutely. The child's alive before you throw him in the fire.
And JC is also a child sacrifice, just for the record.
Well, and that's the main thing, is that if JC is not real, which I believe with all my heart now he's not, if he's not real, the whole book is leading up to all these narratives. Abraham offerings Isaac, the animal sacrifices. It's all leading to JC. So without a blood sacrifice, without an animal sacrifice, without Abraham offering Isaac, without any of that stuff, how are we going to lead to JC? Because all the Christians will go back. Where is he in the Torah? Where's his name? Where's this? Oh, he's all over. Isaiah 7:14.
He's the ram that Abraham finds in the bush, right?
Exactly. I mean, they take you to all these Isaiah 53, Isaiah 9:13, Isaiah 7:14. This is JC. I said, well, read it.
But it's just them looking at what's been written and making it their own to be like, oh, look, you can actually go back here now that this is written. It's just like in Psalms 2 when it says that thou art my son, I have begotten thee. And then it goes to John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten. But it's not. It doesn't mean that, like, to say that, to actually believe that that ram caught in the thicket is JC, that means that you have to be like, the book of Genesis was messed with to line up with that. How
I'm
I'm
just
looking
saying
at
there's a glaring contradiction between the narrative of that story in Jasher versus in Genesis. And when you read the narrative in Genesis, you can see how it's aligning with their narrative of the ultimate sacrifice in the New Testament. Because think about it, if there's no sacrificial system, New Testament and Quran are both destroyed, and Second Temple Judaism,
And then
just like the temple. If there's no second temple,
But
right.
if there is no sacrificial system, that means that most of the, like, scripture in the Old Testament is also kind of like looked at as flawed, because you could go to Kings 18 and you'll see that Elijah sacrificed. Like, you'd have to be like, well, is that how it went? You'd go to Isaac, you'd go to Noah, and you'd be like, well, is that really what it is? For
also a
me
couple of things.
personally,
Also, think about Noah, right? So when Noah's boat lands, everything is destroyed. There's nothing to eat, which means the only thing that Noah and his family have to eat
no, they
are
gathered
6
food.
pairs. They were also on the boat though for a long time. How long were on the boat? They don't have unlimited food.
But I'm sure they gathered enough food.
And so that's the thing. They want you to think that they gathered 7 pairs because of sacrifice. No, they gathered 7 pairs because that's what they were going to eat. Exactly what God says to Noah when they come off the boat. And again, you really, I think it just comes back to, obviously I had the experience of having to kill that sheep, that I was going to eat, and just thinking through, like, the sacrificial system in general, and really pondering it. And then obviously these verses, in Jeremiah 7:22, Jeremiah 7:31. I mean, these are direct shots at a lot of the doctrine of really, but that's the thing. It's Second Temple Judaism. It's the same system that pretends the priests of Levi are true, and the priests of Levi are not true. The Ephraim is the priesthood. So how can I accept a book that is called Leviticus? That tribe doesn't exist.
Josh, you got to say something. I don't know how do you, what does that blue dot mean?
It means add.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. um, so somewhere we got a problem, because again, we got the book leading towards sacrifice, and then we got narrative that tells us, scripture that tells us that no, we're not doing animal sacrifices. I don't require that. I just want you to obey me. So in all aspects, it's something that we've got to drill down onto. But again, if you go to David,
Well, I have a problem with this. This this part in Leviticus, if it was made by said Freemasons, why would they put in the book a very blatant, I guess, rejection of hate? It says, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart." I
Well,
just
first of all,
don't
that's a
get why they would.
restatement from Exodus, either Exodus or Deuteronomy. So that's nothing new, right?
But where is it?
In Exodus and Deuteronomy, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
well,
go find it.
look at this way. Look at this also. The black and white squares of Freemasonry is all about, you can tell lies all day long if you're trying to put a narrative across. And this is what their black and white squares mean. They operate in the darkness, they operate in the light.
I don't know.
A lie is just as straight as the truth.
But see, here's another thing. Let's say, what if that verse, right? What if that verse was in the tables, right? And they took it out and put it in Leviticus. I mean, they put all the feasts in Leviticus. Wow. They put a bunch of stuff in Leviticus. They put the bread offerings in Leviticus. And that's the thing. They put a bunch of stuff in the New Testament that's true. For example, 2 Peter 3:8. A day with God is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. That's a true statement. Revelation 13:13. A man is going to appear and rain fire down from heaven. True statement. When the disciples go to JC, how will we know it's the end of the world? You're coming back. A man named David is going to show up and say he's the Messiah. True statement.
You got to go to the end game. Remember, the Masons are always about the end. So if they created Christianity, they created Islam, they created Buddhism, they created all these religions, Mormonism. They're all Masonic religions.
Mm-hmm.
What's their narrative? They've got to get the Christians to believe.
I think it's to shine the light from the truth, which is the Old Testament. Genesis and Malachi.
Exactly. So the Torah has always been, right? So what happened is they created their Disneyland, and they created the place, and they created the theme, and they have just like you have JC, you got Mickey Mouse. Without
They
Disneyland,
controlled the narrative, yeah.
exactly. So they've got to take the Torah and twist it and bend it and put things in and say, oh, this is leading towards their narrative. If you took out Isaiah 7:14, Isaiah 9:13, Isaiah 53, all these things that the Christians want to yell to and point to, if you take all that away, and took Abraham and Isaac away, it's leading you to no JC.
But that's the thing, right? I just want to make sure you guys understand what I'm trying to say. If the Bible, if the New Testament, like if the Bible got completed in what, 500 years ago, 1400s, then what's to say that these things weren't in here before all of that, right? And they just made a story controlling the narrative, which was already in place, to say, no, this is how it actually goes. Look, you can go
And they
here.
have done that. They
Yeah,
have done that. For example,
but
like they've
why are we
taken the
gonna
truth
take away?
about David and they've made it JC.
Why would
The
we take
reason we're
away
taking it away
kings?
is
All
because
of that.
God is not a man that he should lie.
Go ahead. Julian, go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
Yeah. So why would we take it away if God is not a man that he should lie, and he's not within all these scriptures? They're the ones who lied by adding a book saying, "Oh, look, you can go from here, flip back, there it is, go back, and it's a perfect match." But that's not really how it is. The perfect match is from Genesis to Malachi. They added something to say, "No, look, you can go back to Genesis and Malachi, and you can see that they correlate."
Yeah, so I understand exactly what you said there, but now tell me your point, what you're trying to
And
finish with.
help me understand why couldn't that deception that you concede happens in the 1500s, right?
Mhm.
Why couldn't that start much earlier by inserting the book of Leviticus?
I don't really understand what you're trying to ask, but I think maybe they could have added it with. If it was an added book, if it is added words, then they could have added it with the story of JC, or they didn't have to add something because they were just in the light doing what they wanted to, like they were just being, lawless, like even before everything had an order, I guess. If I'm getting what you're asking.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter when it was written. It just matters that it was written.
Mhm.
The timeline doesn't matter at all. So we know in Deuteronomy 13, 1-3, that said he's going to put us to the test to see if we love him with all our heart, mind, and soul, and to search the matter out. And I think this is what it's about. So they didn't do anything, Aho's done everything. He's just got the master builders, the masons, carrying out the master plan. And he's only going to end up with a team. And this is what we were talking about earlier, is I keep pondering on Elijah. When Elijah says, hey, I'm the only one left, and rebukes him and says, hey, no, I got 7,000 that haven't bent their knee to Baal. So if you think about it, 7,000 people with who's left in Israel, millions and millions of people, and there's 7,000. 7,000's nothing. I mean, it's just a drop in a cup. So the point is, at the end of it, when this is all over with, and there is a new Jerusalem, and the lion does lay down with the lamb, and there is a new heaven and earth, and everything is recreated, and there's no more death, it's going to be a very small team that's left. Because look at the beauty behind Christendom, Israel. I mean, the Christians and the Muslims and the Buddhists and all these other. We are talking about a major part of the Earth's population. And in Pike's letter, I don't think you read it, brother, but the delusion, it's to get, things are to get so bad that everyone's going to be delusioned with JC, which is, why isn't he coming back? Why isn't he coming to save us? There's no power, there's no water, there's nothing to eat. Everybody's killing each other. Where's the rapture? And now they start saying, well, is he even real? So this is what they're going to do. They're going to delusion them, the Christians and the Muslims, against each other, which are the greatest religions of the earth. And these people are going to turn to, what is the last sentence in his letter? They're going to turn to Luciferian, or whatever, however he pronounces it, the pure doctrine of Lucifer. And everyone's going to start worshiping Lucifer. So if that's the way that it happens.
Everyone has.
Yeah, well, that's a very good
You
point.
can't go on the street, me personally, and find someone who says, I believe in the Torah. Like, I won't even find a Jew.
Well, I'm just laughing because it's so, Julian, and we talked the other day, when we were saying, hey, where's Julian? And we were talking about Julian, and we said, oh my gosh, I can't believe that he's 18 years old. The knowledge and the understanding that he's walking with, and it doesn't mean, we're just saying, but you're exactly right, to go out there and to say, you could go in all of LA or Sacramento, wherever, and say, hey, everybody who follows Torah and Torah only, come over here.
There's no one gonna come, bro.
Well, you may only be able to fill your car up.
No.
and I keep pondering this thing. Only 2 people entered the promised land. So if you do the math, they say there's 2 million that entered. That's just men of war, or 600,000 men of war, and take women and children, and they all had 4 kids. You can get like 4 million people, and only 2 entered in. So you do the math, and you get that math number, and you get 8 billion, and you divide it by that number. It's a small number. It's like 570,000 people.
That's a lot.
Well, 570,000 people is a lot, right? But compared to 8 billion, it's nothing. It's like putting people in a Volkswagen versus putting people on the largest cruise ship. It's nothing. But anyway, in the long run, what you're asking and what you're doing, and Josh, I wanted you to chime in about Noah's sacrifice, and drill down. But what you're mentioning, Joy, and this is how iron sharpens iron. This is how you're not causing a problem, or this is not a kickback, whatever you want to call it. It's just, it makes you think deeper. It makes you pull the scriptures out harder, and makes you think to understand, what's going on. So, and really where we are, we have got scripture that says we don't need blood sacrifice. I didn't require it. I don't want it. I just want you to obey. And then we got sacrifices all over the place. Everybody's sacrificing animals. So where do they come from?
What about the Amos thing? The children of Israel shall abide many days without a sacrifice.
Yeah, well, let's just take sacrifice out and put an offering in. Okay. Now, so go back to David. David goes in the temple, and what's in the temple? The showbread. There's no animal in the temple. There's no pork chops in the temple. There's no barbecue in the temple. There's no chicken in the temple. There's showbread. Now, and this is the high priest, right? Okay, this is the high priest. Isn't the high priest every day they're sacrificing animals? And David goes in and eats the showbread? You know, how did he get in the temple first? Because nobody just walks in the temple unless you're a priest, high priest, you know, or the priesthood, which I believe now is clearly Ephraim. So we're not challenging everything in the Bible. So exactly, Amos. They're going to live without a priest, a temple, you know, a sacrifice, all that stuff. But we do have sacrifice on the brain because let's just say it is grain offerings. That's all he ever required was grain. And we put down grain sacrifice. But when we see our mindset is to think of Solomon, is to think of David, is to think of Saul, is to think of everybody sacrificing animals. And then you got the Philistines, the Canaanites, the Hittites. Josh, go ahead.
When you mentioned pork chop there, made me think of why is there unclean animals versus clean animals? And you know, they say the sacrifice was the unclean animals.
Okay. Very good. Very good question. I was reading Reams the other day. Okay. And Reams is talking about clean and unclean animals in the diet, you know, in his book. And you guys don't know Reams, but Reams was like, he was a medical doctor, but never signed up with the AMA. And he used to treat, at a clinic in Georgia. I think 1973, he saw like 18,400 people in 1 year. Most all of them were stage 4. And I think he only lost like 27 or something like that. So what he was doing was working. So go back to Reams, what he says. This is what he said. He said an unclean animal listed in the Bible digests in 3 hours in your body, where a clean animal takes 18 hours to digest. So what he was saying was the unclean animal does not give you the energy source that you should be eating. If you're gonna eat meat, eat a clean animal because it takes 18 hours, which your body is running off of energy. You know, it's like throwing one stick of wood in the wood stove in the winter, and it's burnt up in 15 minutes versus filling up the whole wood stove and it burns overnight. So when I read that, no one's ever said that to me before, and it was very profound to me. Okay, well, that makes perfect sense why you don't want to eat an unclean animal. You don't want to eat pork chops. You don't want to eat chickens. You don't want to eat this stuff because they digest too fast. And you don't get the energy source of the protein digestion that your body requires over time. So I hope that helps. But yeah, clean and unclean animals. Exactly, you know, if you're going to eat an animal, did he ever say, let me ask you, everybody, a question right now. Does he ever say, don't sacrifice an unclean animal to me? No, I don't think he does. What he says is, don't sacrifice an animal with a blemish that's blind or lame or whatever, you know, something like that. So he
He
does,
condemns sacrificial animals with unclean sacrificial animals.
does he?
Yeah, in Isaiah 66.
Isaiah 66. Okay. Read it. Can you read it?
Sorry, it says something like, as if someone who sacrifices the swine's flesh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway, regardless, sticking to the foundational of this whole thing, is there a blood sacrifice that's required? Well, we got scriptures that say no. We got scriptures that say yes. So we got a problem. And if you notice in the whole Bible, front to back, when you have a problem of, one tells you to go left, one tells you to go right, when there's a discrepancy in the scriptures, it's always dealing usually with JC and the Gospels versus the Torah. Because the Torah,
What do you mean?
well, just like we say right now, okay, we have a discrepancy in the scriptures. We have scriptures saying, don't sacrifice an animal. And then we have scriptures that say, do sacrifice an animal. That's a discrepancy. So, but the narrative of that is what? If you do not have a sacrificial animal, if you do not have sacrifices in the Torah, you cannot sacrifice JC. There is no JC. He's got to be sacrificed. So if you don't have any sacrifice in the Torah or the Tanakh, and you go to JC and you sacrifice JC, people are going to be appalled. Why are you making a blood sacrifice here? But everyone is so used to animal sacrifices. And what do the Christians tell you? What did I used to tell you? Oh, we just got used to doing animal sacrifices, and then he had to be the blood sacrifice. He had to be the human sacrifice. His blood atoned for our sins. It's all bullshit. And it's not true. So if we don't have animal sacrifices, we got no JC. If we don't have any second temple, we don't have a JC. So these are foundational discrepancies. So those two things alone, take away sacrifices, you take away JC. You take away the temple, you take away JC. And then what do we have? We have a narrative in the Bible. When I say Bible, I say the whole thing, leading us from the beginning to the end, and it's all interwoven together, and it's all perfectly fit. It's a Disneyland theme park. But if you take the Torah and the Torah alone for the truth, it seems it starts to reveal these discrepancies, just like Psalms 40 verse 6, 1 Samuel 15:22, 1 Samuel chapter 8. These are discrepancies. You can't deny them. They're blatant. Now, you can deny them because you're blind, but denying them usually is led by blindness. Not denying them and calling them, well, this is a contradiction here. We got to figure this out. We've got to dive into the scriptures and go deeper. That's how this whole thing, that's what Ao wants. To see if you love me with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. And you know what I wanted to tell you, Julian? You asked me, and I said this to Mayron the other day. You asked me for advice. What advice would you give me for turning 18? And I thought about it after we were gone. And I said, you know what? Here's my advice for Julian. Here's my advice for Josh. Here's my advice for anybody. It's the greatest advice in the Tanakh. It's the greatest advice from Genesis to Malachi. And everything is encompassed about this. If you love me with all your mind, all your heart, and all your soul, is encompassed in these 3 verses. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of the sinner, nor sits at the seat of the scoffer. But his delight is in the Torah of Ao, and he meditates on that Torah of Ao night and day. He will be like a tree planted by the river of waters, whose fruit comes to fruition in due season, and its leaf does not wither, and everything he does shall prosper. That Psalms 1, to me, is the greatest advice that anybody could give to anybody growing up, their children, their grandparents, whatever. That is the device. If you live by that advice, you will prosper in everything that you do. Everything. He's promising it right there. And when he says your fruit will come into fruition in due season, he's talking about the revelations of the scriptures. The fruit, that's the fruit, will come in due season. They're just going to come one after the other, after the other, after the other. And he's going to say, and you're going to get these aha moments. Wait a second. This can't be true because it's a direct contradiction because of this and this. So let's dig this down. And he's going to keep revealing these things. But those, I can't think of anywhere else in the Bible that I could give someone the most advice to walk with, to live by, to sleep by, to act by, to eat by, to raise your children by, to raise your home by, your work, everything. I can't think of any other better place. And it's not by chance. It's the first Psalms number 1. It's not by chance. And what it does is outline Deuteronomy 28, the blessings and the curses. Because the first 3 verses of Psalms chapter 1 is what I just quoted to you. And verse 4 to 6 is the heathen. And the heathen shall be not so. They're going to be like the chaff in the summer wind. They're going to blow away. It tells you. So the first verses of Deuteronomy 28, 1 to 14, that's Psalms 1 to 3. And Deuteronomy 15 to 68 is Psalms 4 to 6. So anyway, that's what I thought about, and that's what I ponder, and I keep pondering Psalms 1 through 3. And the depth is so deep. It's like the Mariana Trench. I guess it's not even, it's deeper than that. But anyway, that's my advice to you. That should have been my advice to you when you asked that night, or that day, I should say. And that's the greatest thing I can say about you could give anybody any advice. No better advice than that. So I hope that helps. So we keep digging, we keep mining, digging in this mine, and we hit gold veins, and we hit gems, and we hit diamonds, and we hit rubies, But what are we waiting on? We're waiting on what they call the mother lode, the beginning of it all. And that's the Torah. That's the whole thing in the beginning. You made me laugh, Julian, when you couldn't find one person in California to get in the car with you that would agree on Genesis to Malachi. Well, they're out there. Just think about when Ao rebuked Elijah, and he said, "Hey, knucklehead, you're not the only one. I got 7,000 more." So that made Elijah feel pretty small. but he was probably thinking, where in the heck are they? Because I can't find one anywhere. Oh, goodness gracious. But they're out there, they're out there. I was, Mayron and I were talking about when I first met him. I met him in South Carolina at, I can't even think the town now. Geez. We go to
Beaufort,
Beaufort, South Carolina. and and at this we go to this bed and breakfast there. It's an old house that was built in probably 1840, something like that. It was a hospital during the Civil War. Beautiful place, looks over the water. Anyway, we're at this place. We've been there quite a few times, and my wife and I, we never take the elevator in this place. We always take the stairs because the stairs are just spectacular. I mean, just all hand done. It's just spectacular. But anyway, so we're sitting in the basement in this elevator, and you push the elevator, right? And I'm watching this guy, and he's going from one room to the other room, and I see dogs coming in and out, and he's talking to himself, and he's saying all this stuff, and he's moving suitcases, and they're going back and forth, and I'm just watching. I'm kind of amazed. And the elevator took it seems like it took 5 or 10 minutes. And anyway, I'm just watching this guy go back and forth, and it's Mayron, and he's switching rooms, and I can't remember for what reason. So the next day is bed and breakfast. So you eat breakfast out on the porch. We eat out on the porch, and it's a beautiful, cool day, and the wind's blowing, and it's, early in the morning, and linen tablecloths and all that stuff. And there's got to be 15 tables out there, right? So we go out there and we turn, I don't know, for whatever reason, we turn right and we sit down, and there's another 14 tables, and there's basically nobody out there. There's just us. And here comes this same guy with his wife and 2 kids, and they sit right next to us. And usually people don't do that, right? And I'm always watching people, and my wife always tells me, quit staring. I'm just watching what's going on. And Mayron, he picks out this bag of cherries, and he's got a deep hitter, and he's deep hitting cherries, and he give them to his son, and his son's eating them, and his son he's eating like 50 of these things. And I said, well, this kid's gonna pop. Well, he loves cherries, and he's deep hitting them, whatever. We're listening, and his wife is nursing the baby right there in front of us. His second son is nursing, and she just whips it out and nurses the baby. And we started talking, and she said something I can't remember. And I said, well, that's the bubonic plague. And she said, what do you mean the bubonic plague? I said, during the bubonic plague, they took a silver spoon and they put it in the baby's mouth, because they found out that the silver spoon, when the baby was sucking and nursing or sucking on the spoon, the child never died of the bubonic plague, because it was the silver coming off the spoon going in its mouth. And I said, you should let your children suck on a silver spoon. I said, we eat with silver spoons. That's our silverware. We bought antique, stuff. You can buy it on Amazon. You used to buy it for nothing, and we bought silver to eat with, because, when I read that, I said, heck, that makes sense. Helps your immune system anyway. And then Mayron says to me, the earth is flat or something like that. And I started laughing. I said, who in the world's going to talk about the earth is flat? I said, nobody talks about that. And I said, you're correct. And then he said, they never landed on the moon. And I started laughing again. And this is when his eyes were just being opened. But what are the chances, Julian, of sitting down next to somebody, that nobody's there, and you happen to meet this guy, and he's telling me the earth is flat and that we never went to the moon. And I can't remember what else he told me. And I said, you're right. And he wasn't surprised, but I was very surprised he said it. And that was it. That's how I met him. And then he called me up 6 months later and said, hey, the cat bit me or something. I can't remember. I need to take these. They want me to take these rabies shots. What do you think? And I started laughing. And I said, you got to be out of your mind if you take those shots. And he says, well, everybody's telling me, I'm going to die.
Everybody was telling me I was going to die. Everybody.
Yeah, you're going to.
Everybody. My wife, you don't love your children. You're going to leave me as a widow.
Yeah, I'm going to die. They're telling me my eyeballs are going to fall out. I'm going to die a horrible death. What do you think? He kept saying, what do you think? I'm laughing, and I said, you got to be crazy. I said, don't take that stuff. Go drink some silver. I said, oh my gosh, take some iodine. Raise your immune system. Oh.
And there's like the craziest things, like, because I had never had any experience with rabies. Why would I? But the cat that they said got rabies had just got the rabies vaccine. Okay,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, wow, that's weird. And I'm like, and then like when I first went, they're like, yeah, we think your cat has rabies. I'm like, oh, okay. Why can't you just test the cat and see if it has rabies? They're like, no, the cat has to die before we can test it for rabies. I'm like, what? How does that make any sense? What illness on earth does the subject have to die for you to confirm that the patient has the illness? This is the only illness I've ever heard of that.
And the best part of all, tell them how much the rabies shots were going to cost.
Oh, it was like $30,000. It was literally like $30,000.
I started roaring. I said, "You crazy?" Oh, one of them was 30 grand.
The blood one was 30 grand, and I don't remember how much the vaccines were.
Oh,
we had to get 4 vaccines and then the blood one. And then I kept asking, like, isn't a vaccine like aren't you supposed to get it before you're exposed? Like, how does it work after you're exposed? Like, isn't that like the opposite idea here?
Nothing makes sense. And I just oh yeah.
Know what we think about COVID, but this is different.
Oh, you got to take the shot. It was my neighbor told me, my father-in-law's everyone's telling me take the shot. And I was the only one that said, are you crazy? Oh my goodness gracious.
Cursed to be the man that trusts in man.
Yeah, cursed to be the man that trusts in man. Well, it looks like you're still here today. And yeah, it's remarkable. Oh my goodness. At least I got a good laugh out of that.
But I forget what it is. It's like, because I remember my friends kept telling me that you can drop dead at any point in like 7 years. You just die. You just die. Like one day you just die. Like that's the thing. You never know. Like you say like, oh, you're okay, but what if you just drop dead? And these are the things that they tell you for real.
Yeah, and the fact is, where'd you get that information? Well, it's on Google. Google said. Look, I read it. I saw it on TV. You can drop dead. You can die. I'm going to be a widow. You're going to leave me without any children. Your kids will now. Oh my goodness. Oh, fear. That's how they get everyone to do everything. That's how they get them to take the shot and do all that stuff. Fear, 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 fear. Fear mongers.
God says, fear not.
And fear not. All right. Well, that was something. That was a good laugh. Oh. Anyway, I don't know if it answers any of our questions, but we just got to keep digging. Just like you're asking, Julian, you just got to keep asking questions.
And I agree. I think there's a lot of truth to what Julian is saying. Like, for example, by peace he shall destroy many. They
Mm,
took that and put it in First Thessalonians 5:3, Quran 43:89, right?
yeah,
But the truth existed, right? I'm just saying there's something a particular thing about just especially at the end, right? How can there be a sacrificial system at the end when everything's restored and there is no more death? How does that make any sense?
exactly. And that's something that I forgot about. So let me go. Where was that? Josh said that it's Genesis 8. What did he say? 8:40? About
20.
20. All right, let's go here. All right. And Noah built an altar unto Ao and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Well, there's your clean and unclean. So, all right. So we read that, right? And we say, okay, well, then there it is. It says it right there. So then we read the other ones and it says, don't do it. So which one is right? So is there a narrative going on? Now, Ao's got to leave enough breadcrumbs for you to know the truth and to follow the truth. But I've said this before. Why did Noah made a sacrifice, and like you said one time, well, why can't it be a grain offering? Well, sure it could. It could be a grain offering. So again, the main thing that I can go back to, and I've said it a couple times, is the showbread with David.
What if Noah's offering was a feast? You think
Well,
about Noah's feast, the 4 feasts, right?
You're saying look at it as he was just making a feast. Well, yeah.
You
I mean, a
know,
big fat
a big
barbecue,
fat
a big
barbecue
barbecue.
after the flood. Like, imagine you survived the flood because of all. You're going to be giving praise, glory, but like you're celebrating. You're not just killing animals for no reason.
What'd you do? You go what?
No. And I'm saying like you're killing animals for no reason, right? Especially animals that God.
Well, this is what I mean, I put down a lot of animals in my life, and now I don't want anything to do with it. It's very hard. Um, but prior to this, I mean, geez, it was like nothing. I didn't think of any of I didn't think about for a second about not killing or killing something. And that's when I asked you, Josh. I said, "Hey, you want to go skin? Put this last cow down and kill him?" And you said, "No, I'm not doing that. not after, not after doing the first one." You know, and I just can't stomach it anymore. To I don't want any more. I don't even want to hear the shot. That just bothers me. But yeah.
I mean, if we just got off the boat and we were hungry, yeah, I'd do it.
Well, hunger is a different. Hunger drives people to do things they would never do. You know, um, fear drives people to do things they never do. Thirst would drive people to do things they never do. Yeah, so naturally, if you're hungry, sure. And this is, imagine we were talking earlier. Imagine how rough this is going to be. How rough or how bad this tribulation is going to be. And the only thread you got to hang on to is that's the only thread. But I mean, it's you talking, Julian. But my second advice for you, is you just continue Psalms 1, but in the meantime, I would, if you have any possibility of exiting the city, you know, I would I would start considering exiting. You know, it's like Mayron, tell them, you know, how you used to live in L.A. Tell them what you thought about when L.A., you know, how you got out of L.A. How'd you know to get out of L.A.?
Well, he told me to get out of LA because he basically showed me Los Angeles burning.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was going to happen when I was leaving. So this was January 2021. Yeah, January 2021, but it didn't actually burn down until 4 years later, January 2025. Is that when the Palisades fire was?
Well, you gotta tell them
Let's
that
check.
you gotta tell them that you lived right there where that big huge fire was. The place you were living is burned down.
Oh yeah, the house I was living in burned down. All of my neighbors' houses burned down. Everything burned down.
The whole place burnt down.
Yeah, it was 2025. Yeah, so it was 4 years before he showed me that it was going to burn, and people thought I was crazy when I told them this place is going to burn. I said, "But listen, I got to go." And I was crazy because I was watching it burn on TV, thinking to myself, that would be me if I didn't listen to God. Running down the street, carrying my children and running with my dogs for my life because there was like a traffic jam. Everyone had got out in their cars for some reason. It was crazy. It was crazy. I'm sitting on the couch just praying all praise to Allah, right?
Watching your house burn down.
Watching my house burn down.
Oh my goodness.
No.
I'm laughing.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. You just got to listen. Whatever he says, you got to listen, man. He's telling you good advice.
Yeah. Julian, I don't know if you're at work or whatever, but that's okay. But I think you said you live in Sacramento. I think that's what I remember. I know it's in California somewhere. Yeah, but anyway, it's you know, all you got to do is turn the power off at that place. You know, you turn the power off, that means the water goes off too. And just like anywhere, you know, in 2 days it'll turn into a zoo.
I think it's just, everyone thinks that, as you know, again, there's a lot of truth in it, right? Where Peter says, these people say, everything is going to go, just stay like it always has. It's going to just be the best. How can you think it's going to get worse? AI is here. Look at the AI stocks,
Well, and then look at this. What are you talking about? You know, the rapture, buddy. We're out of here. Are you kidding me? We got a first class flight. We're out of here fat and happy.
Oh man, the rapture. Second best selling book of all time, right?
Well, it was the greatest selling book of all time. And then something surpassed it. But anyway, yeah, we're out of here with the rapture. That's the one thing. And then, yeah. What did you just mention?
The Left Behind series?
No, Left Behind. I was talking about first thing that Mayron said.
I'm sorry.
Isn't that the series though? Left Behind? I think that's
Yeah. Yeah, it's the movie series, the book, the whole nine yards.
The whole thing, yeah.
And I can remember years ago, I bought my daughter, when we were still doing all the foolishness. For Christmas, I bought her the book. And I remember she opened it and looked at it. She didn't tell me, but she said, "Dad, the thing was a lie." I knew it at the time. But she said, "You're not listening." So that was an eye opener. But boy, she had insight from very young.
Oh, she still does.
Yeah. Well, still does is right. She's not little anymore. Yeah, the rapture. Are you kidding me? Man, we're going and then coming back. You guys are going to, honey, don't worry about the mortgage. Honey, don't worry about the food. Don't worry about any of that. We're out of here. And then you go to, we were talking Jasher. I can't remember where it is. It's either Jasher or Jubilees, and I think it may be Jubilees, and it talks about in the end times that neighbor will be against neighbor, and it says neighbor will go. It says they'll be going from house to house, ravaging the houses and ravaging the people looking for food. That's, in the cities. And, and then I said it'll just turn into gangs. One gang will get together to so-called keep the other gangs out of their territory. And, yeah. So anyway, but I go back to what Daniel 12:1. And Dao said, as the world has never seen what's about to befall it. Not Michael. It's Dao speaking there in Daniel chapter 12.
When Da'o arises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, anybody got anything else?
From the
Questions
rising
or
of
whatever?
the sun from the west. The
Rising
sun
of the
doesn't
sun.
rise in the west.
Why did they say that? Rising from the sun in the west.
And you think about that song too. There's so much truth to it. The sun will come out tomorrow. Tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. It's talking about the new day and the Messiah.
What is the name of that song? Yeah.
Sun will come out tomorrow. Probably tomorrow.
Annie.
Annie. Musical. Tomorrow, yeah, it's just tomorrow.
Just tomorrow.
Yeah, Tomorrow by Annie.
Yeah, look at this. Oh, this video is unavailable.
The sun, right? The Beatles. Here comes the sun. It's all the same stuff.
Oh, imagine. Yeah, here comes the sun. Imagine the Beatles singing that.
Yeah, all mucking, all mucking.
Here comes the sun. And Annie, tomorrow. Oh my goodness. It's going to be when they sign the peace, the peace accord, whatever they want to call it. What is it? The Abraham Accord? They're going to.
Yeah, I would assume it's going to be a nuclear deal and them signing the Abraham Accords. Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. So think about that. It's going to be a nuclear deal, right? And then allegedly someone will probably break it with a nuke, alleged nuke.
Yeah. Something's obviously going to break it to start the war. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Another Chernobyl, or something like that, where you got to evacuate.
Yeah.
What's the 613 that you were talking about last week or the week before?
Yeah, 613.
612. 612.
612.
612 is tomorrow. With SpaceX IPO, disclosure day. On AO's calendar, it's 4/4. But it seems like they're working off their Pharaoh's calendar, because today is 3/22 on Pharaoh's calendar.
Yeah, start with today and tell them what's today isn't going until tomorrow.
Today is so it depends on which calendar you're looking at, because it's all depending on when you say the spring equinoxes, right? Because you count the days, the day after the spring equinox is the first day of the year. So on God's calendar, tomorrow is 4/4. On Pharaoh's calendar, today is 3/22. So you see they're off. But the idea is that Sweet Caroline song says spring became summer. And so that's why I believe their peace deal is going to be any day now, between the transition between spring and summer. Now, on God's calendar, we've already made that transition We had summer solstice, the first day of spring, the longest day of the year. All of that's already happened. On Pharaoh's calendar, the first day of spring is June 20th. Is that right?
You mean summer?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. First day of summer. Yeah. First day of summer.
Summer solstice.
Yeah. Summer solstice. Here. Summer solstice. Let's ask Google. Let's Google it. June 21st. Yeah. So that would be 331 for them. And so I feel like the peace has to be in this as spring turns to summer.
So what is the significance of 4-4? Tell them.
4-4 is just it's interesting because I didn't understand it for a long time. If you go to that scene in Leave the World Behind, where she's leaving the grocery store and the wall says that Donald Trump is the key to Pandora's box, and the guy is, preparing for the apocalypse by like loading water into his truck. He had 4x4 was clearly on the side of his truck. So obviously it means something. Now, if you go to the new toilet and you count from JC's death to his resurrection back up to heaven, it's 44 days, right? Because he's in the ground 3. And then he's there 40. So on the 44th day, right, he goes back up. But that's not what it is. It's related to Freemasons loving the square. So they love 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, right? And
5-5.
4-4 is the square though, because if you look at the Euclid's 47th problem, the first right triangle is 3-4-5. And so 4 is the square, which is Christianity. 3 is the circle, which is Islam. 5 is them doing the impossible, squaring the circle and bringing both towers down simultaneously. It's really a remarkable work if you didn't care about people and death and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So now go to the point when they declare peace again. Peace.
So yeah. So again, it comes from what we know about the King of Fierce Countenance from Daniel 8:25. By peace he shall destroy many. And so that's really the key. And obviously, First Thessalonians 5:3, when they shall say peace and safety, no sudden destruction. Quran 43:89 says, when the Muslims are talking to the Christians, say peace, soon they shall know, right? And so everything is pointing to, once this peace is declared, that in the very, very near future, utter chaos should ensue.
So when they declare peace, it'll be happy days again. The stock market's going to soar. And then there'll be a major calamity happen. Iran's going to, allegedly break the peace deal, let's just say like an oil, something blew up somewhere or something happened. They'll blame it on them, like terrorist attack, like 9/11. Same type of. Go ahead.
So where does any of it line up to every 7 months in
And
Baruch?
as we ponder possible things that we might see,
Yeah. Well, Brother Mayron, you're breaking up. Nobody can hear anything. Yeah, it does. Like the time of Baruch is we're living in commotions right now. Okay. Great commotions is the first one. So yeah, it lines up with that. But we'll just have to see as we go along, every 7 months, like going to December, what that's going to be. But the idea is, here's something else. I I told Brother Mayron this, and it didn't. Let me see if this makes sense to you. Okay. I caught a news clip last night, which I don't ever watch the news. The only reason I looked at it is because it has to do with the peace deal, right? And it says U.S. is bombing Iran again. All right. So I listened to it. And the guy says something. This is what he says. He talks about the bombing going on and whatever. And then the guy says this: the U.S. Navy has been sneaking out oil tankers at night, and Iran can't see them. Okay. First of all, I'm saying, what do you mean Iran can't see them? You know, an oil tanker, how do you hide an oil tanker during the day? And the other thing is, it says all the oil facilities in Iran are basically destroyed. All right. And, you know, Kuwait, all these other around them, I think there's Iraqi facilities in there too, whatever. But they're sneaking out oil tankers at night, escorting them out. So what they're going to say is the world says it's running out of oil, right? They're running on reserves. And when the peace deal happens, I think you'll hear them say, hey, we've been sneaking out oil the whole time, and we got plenty of oil, and your price of gas is going down to $1.79 or something. You know, and everyone's going to say hoorah, and they're all going to be happy. Which it's all contrived. Because it doesn't make sense that let's just say the oil's coming from somewhere else. You ever, heard of the stars and the moon and all these things? And you can see a silhouette of a boat out in the ocean, but Iran can't see you sneaking the stuff out? Doesn't make sense. Anyway, so they're all going to cry peace, peace, and, everything will be happy again. And then they're going to pull the rug, and stock market will probably crash, and this is going to be the start of, the great commotion. And guess what? It's never their fault. They can always blame it on someone else. 7 guys in a cave took down 2 buildings. David Koresh did this, did that, whatever. The Oklahoma bombing, one guy. It's always somebody else doing it. It's never them. So that's what's, and they'll blame it on someone else, and it'll be devastating, right? So all the people will demand go get them, just like they did Afghanistan, So what did 9/11 cause? It caused 2 wars, Iraq and Afghanistan. 15 years worth of war over the 2 buildings. So this is how they start World War III. And it's never, it's never their fault, because we're the good guys, or they're the good guys, I should say. I don't want to take we in there. I'm not in there. Nothing against these people, because they're going to stand against their own judgment. I'm just telling it as I see it. So does that help? Any other questions? So we could see the peace deal here real short. Today, tomorrow, this weekend. But it's going to happen sometime.
Any day.
Any day.
Any day. And I would imagine you're going to see the Schiller close at 43.89.
Yeah.
So,
They
yeah.
usually do those big deals on Fridays too, because everybody's excited for the weekend, not paying mind to what's going on.
Yeah. And then when it happens on the weekend, you're locked in or out of the market, and you can't change what happens, and then you get crushed, or you make, billions of dollars. Exactly. We just thought it was going to be a week ago, 10 days ago.
Yeah, 322 on RO's calendar. Yeah,
Yeah, we were with the wrong date,
wrong calendar.
wrong calendar, right date. 322 is an occult. Skull and Bones. The Japanese had
All right. Well,
an army. Go ahead.
I think
What was that?
no. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're probably done. All right, let's just shut it down. It's we're 2 hours and 15 minutes. And
Nothing else.
unless there's any other questions, anybody? If not, we'll just meet up next week, same time, same place. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah.